today we have Rob Arellano, and he leads our revenue growth management practice. And we are going to talk today about pricing. So, inflation continues to impact consumers, and how should we really be thinking about pricing during an inflationary time? So, Rob, for you, the question is, will manufacturers and retailers continue to implement price increases? And if so, what is the best way to do this?
Yes, Steve. So inflation, as you mentioned, I mean, growing faster than it ever was, even during the Great Recession now 14, 15 years ago. And when that happens, tons of pressure on our consumers, and how they're, changes their shopping behavior, as well as companies' bottom lines. Raw materials, labor, transportation costs all continue to rise. So it's not really a question of if price increases will be implemented, but when and how they will be implemented. And as with anything, multitude of ways to implement some of these price increases. Simply just do a kind of peanut butter spread of, hey, we're going to take prices up 5% or 10% across our entire line, affecting maybe even only everyday prices on the shelf. Maybe we just want to change our promoted pricing. And there's ways to do this as well by reducing frequency of promotion or eliminating it altogether. So those are pretty obvious options, and companies are doing it in all different ways. There's also, a way to do this by, kind of changing the mix of your offerings. Making sure you're shaping your portfolio with offerings that ensure greater price realization by selling, or driving harder on some of your higher priced items, managing your margins by driving harder on some of your profitable items. But given all these options, I mentioned the peanut butter spread and just let's do it one way. That's typically not the best practice. It's really important to be surgical. And by that, I mean kind of really targeting to get the outcomes that you want. And so in order to do that, it's really important to understand the category dynamics. What's happening to the category in general. Coming out of the pandemic, did category shrink? Did it grow? Did it change significantly? Understanding what your competition is doing is really, really important because it all has an impact, right? And really the key to this kind of surgical approach is ensuring that it's sustainable and it's for the long term. What you don't want to do is take a dramatic increase just to cover a margin hole or a profit hole, and then end up having to deal it back because volume slides too far. So really, really understanding the elasticity of your brands, understanding the dynamics and the elasticity of the category you're in, what's happening specifically to your promoted groups and even down to your SKUs is really, really important, as it'll inform your pricing strategy, across, all your brands, all your packs, and even your channels. So you can't just look at your brands specifically. It's really, really important that you're factoring kind of these cross-category impacts, and competitive elasticities and category elasticities. You have to know that stuff in order to make sure that you understand the implications of your actions. So just as an example, say you have a pack, you do the work, you understand what your economics look like, what the elasticities look like, and it's not very elastic. Your everyday price isn't super elastic. Your promoted price isn't very elastic. So in order to be a bit surgical and thoughtful about it, you may want to price ahead of the consumer price index, a little bit faster than inflation, since it's not elastic and you can kind of maintain a lot of that volume that you're driving, and handle that one that way. Conversely, you might have something that's way more elastic on promotion, for example, and you may choose to, price that up, but maybe slightly less than the inflation rate, in order to kind of maintain that volume for your entire portfolio. All this stuff goes hand in hand, and of course, everybody's worried about their market share and the shape of their plans. So, in order to kind of optimize that, doing those two things is really, really important. Kind of maximizing that price realization, optimizing your margins, and all the while kind of keeping an eye on what's happening to your market share and driving, the most value that you can for your organization, maintaining those shares and driving that price realization.
That's fantastic. I really liked your comment about elastic versus inelastic pricing, and potentially, with an inelastic change in price, you could be pricing ahead of CPI. I think that's a really good way of thinking about that.